Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. If your property gets damaged by a storm, it's nice to know there's a Kentucky Farm Bureau insurance agent in your hometown who's committed to making things right. Rain or shine, you can count on the great coverage and personal service you expect from Kentucky's insurance company. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. We've got the Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife, Rich Storm, with us on this edition of Farm to Frankfort. Commissioner Storm, it's great to have you here with us today on Farm to Frankfort. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I'm the 9th Commissioner of Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, and I can tell you, as a lifelong farmer, I have always loved the outdoors. I think that gave me an advantage in life to see God's creation, all the things that He did for us and that He does for us. Renewable resources through farming, renewable resources through fish and wildlife. I have the distinct privilege to talk about deer hunting, turkey hunting, bear hunting, big fish, a lot of untrue stories, a few true stories. We get the opportunity to share faith, family. I know farming's part of it. 95% of the state is private land, and we're fortunate to have that. But our agency has a distinct mission to conserve and enhance the fish and wildlife resources of Kentucky, and with that, it's a great responsibility. But we coexist with so many different things, from farmers, leasees, people that hunt for trade, people that hunt for the culinary side. And in my lifetime, we have gone from, I'm going to say, small fish and wildlife resources, maybe you saw some squirrels, some grouse, some quail, to we have one of the top whitetail deer herds in America. Mm-hmm. We have some of the best fishing in America. NWTF magazine said we have the top turkey flock in America. And so in a state sometimes where we don't finish in the top in some categories, with fish and wildlife resources, we finish near the top in every category. And I think that that's a blessing. I think we get a lot of rain, got a lot of fertile soil, and for a good reason people bring thoroughbreds here. Right. But tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not a big self-promoter, but lifelong Kentuckian, lifelong farmer, love the outdoors my whole life. I've got a beautiful wife. I overdid it. Heather.
We all did.
Yeah, that's right. 2 great daughters, and they love to hunt and fish too. And so it's a big part of our life. Graduated from Nicholas County High School, graduated from Morehead State University, and I've done a little bit of a lot. In fact, I was an insurance agent. You guys may not know that, but very blessed, and very blessed to have the partnership with Kentucky Farm Bureau.
And actually a County Farm Bureau board member in Nicholas County. So we appreciate you serving and volunteering your time there. Our County Farm Bureau boards are important to us, and we do appreciate your service to a County Farm Bureau.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And we always appreciate your open door policy. As you mentioned, we coexist, we partner. We might not agree 100% of the time, but I do always appreciate you and your staff's open door policy and being here with us. And we'll get into a few of the issues that we hear about on our side, and kind of how we can work together to try to I don't know what the correct word is, but
we have to work together.
Yeah.
I think as we in agriculture and in fish and wildlife, we have to find ways that we can work together. And I do appreciate you. You've met with us over the years. I think since you've been commissioner, can't count the times that we've met with you and talked about things when there are issues. And actually, I have actually called you at times when there's been an issue and tried to help resolve those issues, because that's what we need to do. And I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, guys, I look forward to your phone calls. And oftentimes I'll see a number and I'm like, oh, here we go. But when you guys reach out, it's usually it's a reasonable conversation. We share oftentimes with the same type challenges. I think for the farmers out there, they need to realize what a partner that we are, and maybe sometimes we're not the best communicators, but we have a program. It's a private lands program, and we will come to your farm free of charge, and you can tell us what your goals and initiatives are. So if you want more squirrels, we can show you how you can have more squirrels. If you want to focus on food plots, we can help you with that. If you want to focus on more bass in your ponds, we can help you with that. So free of charge, go to fw.ky.gov, go to the search bar, type in what you're looking for, and we have endless resources on our website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we were kind of chatting before we went live here, you were telling us a little bit about the history and the kind of foundation of Fish and Wildlife here in Kentucky. Tell us a little bit about that history. Maybe I think you mentioned maybe who the first official Fish and Wildlife commissioner or employee was. I think that's really neat to hear.
So actually, prior to our statehood, Daniel Boone was anointed or sworn as the first game warden, which I think is really cool. And we were part of Virginia, so as he explored that Cumberland Gap, he came through and I mean, what a rich life and history. But he survived and thrived because we had Fish and Wildlife resources. And so, like Teddy Roosevelt, he was a great conservationist, and he had a vision of sustainability and longevity. And I'll tell you a few things that I think that are really interesting. So the issues we're dealing with are relatively new. Now, they may be the same issues, and you guys may get the same calls. But in the mid-'70s, I think it was 1976, our total turkey population was 2,500. And we just had a top-tier turkey season with more than 30,000 birds harvested. And so if you think back, there were 2,500 birds almost hunted to extinction. What a conservation success story. So in '97, we stopped that restoration. And we're probably going to talk a lot about whitetails. But it's much the same. For a number of years in the late '90s, we stopped moving whitetails from western Kentucky to eastern Kentucky. And so that restoration is complete. And it's amazing what we've accomplished. And something that you all realize and some people probably don't think about, we have a lot of folks that move here for Fish and Wildlife resources. Yeah. They come here, they buy a farm, they pay taxes, and they fence it off, and they may have some cattle, but they came here because we have great hunting, great opportunity.
Yeah, Nicholas County and Owen County are pretty similar. I guess Webster, too, being small rural counties.
Right.
But we've seen a lot of folks have moved into Owen County, which we're close to northern Kentucky. But it is folks that want to come in, do a little farming, have some cattle, have some chickens, have some vegetables, and for our deer hunting. For a long time, I think we were the #1 county in the state for deer harvest. So yeah, we do see that in our county, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know we get a lot of out-of-state people that come in to hunt too. I know a friend of ours in Mississippi has come to Kentucky to turkey hunt. So everybody wants to come to Kentucky to hunt, and I know y'all depend on a lot of those out-of-state hunters to do a lot of things that y'all do at Fish and Wildlife.
So to that note, why do people come here? Number one, it's a great place to hunt. But number two, look at our neighbors. We have more available open space. We have over 1 million acres of public land. And that's incredible, but it's not as crowded, and the resources are fantastic. And don't get me wrong, the in-staters a lot of times are like, hey, we got to do something about these out-of-staters. But each year we have a slight increase in out-of-state participation, and we have consistently raised those licenses and permits for out-of-staters. And while we've kept our resident rates cheap, that is indicative of how good our resources are when we see those non-residents coming in here and paying taxes, shopping here, and they want to rent the rent the farm. They want to come every year. And so I'm really thankful to be part of that lineage of a lot of folks that made a lot of good decisions to get us where we are today.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit from the history and get into a little bit of, we've mentioned the calls that we get and the partnership that we have. We're at the time of the year where it's planting season. Folks are wide open, corn, soybeans. I guess tobacco's coming around the corner, but that one's not as impacted by deer. But mainly it's our grain farmers all across the state. This is the time of year where we start getting some calls about having issues with some deer damage to their crops. I mean, it really happens, I guess, all throughout the growing season, but it seems as they plant pretty early on is when we start getting the calls. And we want to talk to you a little bit about the process, because we do have state laws, state regs around deer depredation permits that landowners and even landowners that might lease their farm can go through to get these permits. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Absolutely. And I want to share with the listeners or watchers today, I'm a farmer. And probably around 2008, I planted 30 acres of beans. And they were beautiful. They were absolutely beautiful. It was the first season, surrounded by hardwoods. And when they popped up and they got about knee high, I had about a week gap. I didn't see them, and I went back, and they were destroyed. They were absolutely destroyed. So once the deer took to them, they were destroyed. So I've never planted beans on that property since.
Probably a good idea.
But the deer really did a number on them. So for the listeners today, what I want to encourage everybody to do is connect with us for clarity, because we do have a few scenarios. We actually have 4. And so I like to have no more than 2, but we have 4, and I'll try to do my best. But number 1, our website, if you will search deer depredation, or county contact, that's the one I would recommend as a county contact. If you're confused in any way, reach out to us. We got a form that we'll show the viewers at some point here today. Yeah. But I brought a list. And so from an agency standpoint, the number 1 thing we would suggest for landowners to do if they're having problems with deer is to hunt during the season, the 140-day season, so more than a third of the year you can hunt. And we also know and understand that deer challenges, damage, etc. occur at different times. So when I lost my beans, there was no hunting season that was open.
Right.
So the next thing you can do, and I would call this good planning, and to emphasize on antlerless deer for a multitude of reasons, because these are our breeders, and if you take one, then you may reduce a population for some longevity. And I won't speak to the KARs, but again, if you reach out to us, we can do that. Number 3 are out-of-season kill permits, okay? And then number 4 is the immediate kill of depredation. So if you're a landowner and you have depredation, so let's say you're a nursery and the bucks are coming in and they're rubbing your trees, and it's in the act, you have the legal right as the landowner, and I want to be clear, the landowner, you're on the deed.
Yeah.
You can harvest that animal at that time when you see it happen. So in season, out of season. If you're not the landowner, and that's where we have a lot of confusion.
It is.
And that's where people call your membership, they call you all, they reach out to us. So if you lease that farm, you must have the landowner's permission. And you must reach out to us. The landowner will reach out to us, and we have a designee form. And it has 6 names on there. If you need 12 names, we can do 2 forms. But you must, if you're not the bona fide property owner, you must designate somebody else if you're not going to participate in that activity. But here's what we would like to accomplish. We want to help landowners to achieve their mission, while at the same time we don't want to be wasteful. So we're the first state. We procured a grant of $400,000 and the Kentucky Hunters for the Hungry is the recipient of that grant. And so if we can plan, we could get a refrigerated trailer on a property with a plan, and we could have a limited number of animals harvested, and then we can promote food insecurity. We pay for all of that. That would be our preference. Number one, if you're looking for deer hunters, you're looking for folks that will come out and harvest a doe, and as a landowner, we recommend that. And I know those of you that are listening, you'll get folks that'll say, we'll come out, but they want to kill your trophy buck. They're not after a doe.
Right.
So again, to rewind, deer hunting in season, antlerless control permits through the department, out of season kill permits with designees, and then landowner immediate kill during visible depredation. So how this works when you reach out to us, what happens? We will send either a biologist or a game warden to your property and verify that there's damage. And I can tell you it's not a difficult process. We're not going to come out and CSI your farm, but we are going to look and we're going to make sure that that's indeed the case. And then at that point, we're going to authorize that so that you can have designees. And it's really a simple, seamless process, but we're talking about 4 different scenarios. And that's where people get confused in this process.
Yeah. So the landowner that leases their farm to a farmer, the landowner would need to apply for that number 3 permit, the out of season.
That's exactly right. And again, we don't want anybody to be cited. We don't want anybody to get in trouble. We want to be as cooperative as we can be. But keep in mind, deer restoration ended about 1997. So this, while somebody's been farming for 15 years, they've been dealing with this issue. But sometimes folks haven't participated in these programs. And so our deer herd is precious. It funds our agency. We're a fee-based agency. But we also have to be realistic. We have places where we have too many animals, and fertile fields and cropland and good habitat's going to equate into crop damage.
Yeah. So I guess a question from me. So I'm a landowner, and let's say I lease my farm to Kyle. So when if I see a deer that are eating my soybeans and they're in the act of it, if I own and I'm on that deed, I can shoot that deer at that point in time. Mm-hmm. If I lease my farm to Kyle can't shoot those deer that are in the act of it. I need to call you and then come out and look, and they get the depredation permits. I sign up as a landowner, I will sign up names that can shoot the deer that are in the act of the damage that's done to the crop. Mm-hmm. And then those people are allowed to shoot those deer that are in the act of destroying the crop.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so it's that simple, but what we need here is we just need a tiny amount of planning from landowners. And we've got a multitude of ways that you can reach out to us. If you're old school, you want to reach out to us by telephone, or even if you see a game warden in the community or a biologist, you see somebody sometimes when I pump gas, I try to cover this up because you never know what somebody's going to ask. But in all fairness, we're honored to be public servants, and sometimes we have laws and rules, regulations, and policies that make sense. Sometimes we don't. And so we're trying to make the most out of this situation. And for Kentucky farmers, I think that you'll find this process to not be too difficult from start to finish. And after you've done it once, I think you'll find that it's not as difficult. And again, our people are great. I'm so thankful to work in an agency, which is different than a lot of places, but in an agency where people that work for us, that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
And when you're in a workplace where, the majority of folks, they went to school for this, and this is what they always wanted to be in conservation, we have a satisfied workforce.
Right.
You go to a break room, we're talking about turkeys and deer and bass, and we do make up a few stories
about the big fish,
Just embellish them a little bit.
That's right.
But I also think what's unique about your agency is you are in a lot of the communities. You don't necessarily have to call Frankfort. You don't have to call your all's headquarters, correct? You all do have a regional approach to where you can reach out to folks at the local level, the regional level, to where you can coordinate directly with those folks. And I think for those that are watching, this is we do a viewing and an audio version. I think we will implement this map that you have provided so folks can actually see the names. And I know we're working with you and other folks in your office on putting together, I think what we're kind of calling a frequently asked question or a flow chart, and it's going to include that map to where we can share that with our membership as well, so they can kind of have a roadmap for what they need to do to successfully harvest these animals that are damaging the crops. And we
One
really
question
appreciate
that I've got, we've been through the process, and whether on my farm that I own that I've done, or whether my designee has harvested those deer, has shot them. The process that's next, and you mentioned Hunters for the Hungry earlier, probably not everybody can work out with them to bring a refrigerated truck there. I think there's a little bit of confusion about what happens to those animals after they've been shot. So can you kind of give us what either me as a landowner or as a Kyle would be the leasee of my farm, what would be the process that we would do with that animal after that point in time?
Eddie, I thank you for asking that question, because it's really important to us that we have a conversation about this. So one, I don't think farmers want an animal to be laying in their field. It's a mess, and you're going to lose part of your crop there, and you're going to have buzzards and coyotes and all the things that go with it. So we would encourage that the meat be used. What you can't use are the inedible products. So we don't want somebody to go out and shoot a bunch of bucks so that they can have the antlers. And in fact, it's in statute that you can't possess those parts. But we would like you to have that plan. Now, if you shoot a white-tailed deer in July in the middle of the day, there's limited opportunity. And I would say the majority of farmers, they're not going to want to fool with a deer. They're not going to want to go out and field dress it. And so I would encourage, have a plan. If you can take these deer when it's cooler, you can have something lined up where you can utilize it. That is the best case scenario. But if you don't, you may drag that animal to the edge of the field. If you aren't the landowner, you need to connect. You need to connect with the department within 24 hours, according to our regulation, and say, hey, I shot 2 animals, shot 4 animals. But those parts, you can move them. You just can't possess the antlers. We do have disposal tags, and I would say a lot of your farmers have found a dead animal in their field. And generally speaking, our officers will allow them to possess those antlers. But you have to work through us in all those scenarios to possess the inedible parts. But again, I just strongly encourage you. We have protein, organic meat that we can do something with it with good planning. And I would like to blow this $400,000 grant out of the water. I'd like to double it. I'd like to triple it. And I'd like to thank you all for supporting the Kentucky Hunters for the Hungry through Clays for a Cause and a multitude of ways. We had over 3,300 deer that went through that program last year. And again, for the listeners, if you find a processor that takes Hunters for the Hungry deer, which many do, I would say most do, it's free. So there's no barrier. You don't have to do anything with that animal. It is recommended you field dress that animal. But those processors will take those animals, and if you can coordinate with them and you can coordinate that shooting, it's the best outcome. But for those farmers that can't and don't, dragging those animals out of the field to the field edge, the wood line, I think it's preferred.
And then notify y'all.
That's exactly right.
So that's what you said. Even as a landowner, do I need to notify the department if I've taken 2 or 3 deer at a time?
You do, but I'm going to say with confidence you're not going to be cited if they're in the act of depredation. But it's just best, and Kyle brought up a great point. we don't necessarily want you to call Frankfort. It's kind of like the Farm Bureau. Your local officials, once you get to know those folks and establish that relationship, they're going to be the point of contact for you. They're going to be the folks that are going to come out and look at your place. And year after year, if you're having that depredation, this is going to be a seamless process for landowners, leasees. Even, we didn't talk about a scenario. What if you have the hunting lease?
That's true.
Okay, if you have the hunting lease, you still have to work through the bona fide deed landowner or landowners in order to make that happen.
Now, is there I know it could be different, it could vary. Is there kind of a typical time frame in terms of the turnaround on the contacting the biologist and getting them to come out and review and kind of give the thumbs up that yes, there is a damage here, and yes, you may have a permit? Is there kind of a typical, and I know it varies and based on how busy, but is there kind of is it 24 hours? Is it a week? Is it?
Well, I can tell you just because I'm usually the final signature. Occasionally I'm not, but I'm usually the final signature. And I've seen those dates now. This is my 7th year. And I've seen those dates range from a day or two out to about a month. And I can't really speak to that, so maybe somebody's on vacation. But this is a planned process. This truly is. Once you designate those shooters, it is a planned process. So you're going to go out and you're going to make phone calls. And so I think a normal expectancy, Kyle, would probably be a few weeks for that to go through the local, regional, either game warden or biologist, and then to make it to Frankfort. So we're going to have 3 people sign off on it. We're going to have a biologist, a game warden, and then the commissioner's office. And I've also seen those be a 24-hour turnaround. And, in fact, I remember talking to Eddie one day, and he was asking about one of those.
I was.
And that one was a 24-hour turnaround.
It was.
And that's somewhat unusual, but we try to turn it around as fast as possible.
And for a farmer and a landowner, if they have a problem every single year and they know they're going to plant in a week or two, can they preliminarily reach out and say, hey, we expect in about a month when these plants start growing, can you come out here in about a month? Because every single year I have damage, and kind of pre-plan kind of a visit, so that way that the game warden or the biologist kind of has it on their radar. That's appropriate to do as well, to kind of pre-plan, knowing that it's something that happens every year, and then they come out, see it, and then sign off, obviously. But that way it's not a call and an expectation to be there that same day. I know that's hard on anybody to do.
Sure.
But they can kind of preliminarily reach out to those folks to start building that conversation and relationship.
So we have that. We have a great deal of relationships established, but also keep in mind this happens. So everybody plants within probably a 30-day window in early spring. And so I just think it's better the sooner that you're going to need us to come out, just reach out. And you can reach out through FW Public Affairs. You can call us. You can go to our website. But that search bar, if you can just think of what you're trying to accomplish, our website is just has a multitude of resources. And in fact, we can tell you where to fish, exactly the GPS coordinates where you should drop that line.
There you go.
And I think
that's pretty. I could fish that way. Yeah. I like catching anyway rather than fishing. So
I do too.
I know.
Yeah.
But probably a best case scenario. Then we're here in mid-May right now. So if I have a farm leased and I think that I'm going to have problems with deer eating my soybeans up, probably need to go on and make a phone call now with a biologist and get a biologist or a game warden out there, look at it, and then get the process started earlier rather than later, and try to work through y'all, and then make sure the process is more seamless and getting things going, because we all know those deer like those small soybeans. So that's when they really like to take off and work on those. So I think it's best if we work through the department, and it's easier and it's better for everybody in the process.
And that's a great point. And keep in mind, we have 500 employees at any given time in 120 counties. So we have people in every county providing services, and we have a lot of buildings and infrastructure, but ultimately we solve problems at gas pumps all over the state. So yeah, you go out and look, you're going to run into us again in every county from Robertson to Jefferson. You're going to find our people serving those communities, and so don't hesitate to chat with us. I'm kind of being facetious when I say the gas pumps, but if you see us out there,
Absolutely.
Stop us, and we love what we do.
And that's going to be my last question before we kind of wrap it up, was going to be, are the folks locally available to attend a County Farm Bureau meeting? If a County Farm Bureau is dealing with this issue and they have multiple members on their board, they can reach out to their local game warden, their local biologist, or whoever else locally there and ask if they can come to a board meeting and walk through the process as well. Is that something that the agency is open to doing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have so many resources. Most of you have seen Kentucky Afield.
Yeah.
We have educators in almost every school across the state. I go all over the place and I talk to everything from chambers to squirrel clubs. Yeah. And it's exciting. It truly is. It's exciting what we do. And so we're networking in communities. And it is what we do. Reach out to us in the same manner. If you're going to have a county meeting and there's going to be 6 people there, we got folks that would love to come out and talk about private lands biologists and come out and say, here's how you have more plants per square foot in your timber. And that's something I'm passionate about. 50% of our state's timber. 50%. We have untapped opportunity in that timber for fish and wildlife resources.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner, we really do appreciate you being here today, your partnership. We always kind of close, Eddie, I guess, with any kind of words of wisdom for our membership. Usually we make a joke, all right, I just came up with one, just thought of one. It's not really a joke, it's just a fact. You've had the opportunity the last couple of years, I guess, to be at our ham breakfast, and I believe you and one of your daughters got to sit right up there, up close and personal, one year close to Miss Kentucky. I was just waiting on you to see if you were going to raise your hand or not, but I noticed you were sitting on them pretty tight. So
I did. Seriously, this past year,
you did.
I tried to get Avery to bid on the ham. I was like, just make the first bid.
Yeah.
We'll pray that there's a second bid. And she's like, oh, Daddy. She said, I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I appreciate that. And you all are so good to us. We really do appreciate that. And for the listeners, I'll tell you, read Genesis 1. And God gave us all of this and gave us the responsibility to take care of it. And that's in Genesis 1. So if we're going to make a point, we're going to put it at the beginning and we're going to put it at the end, right?
That's right.
And so he gave us dominion over plants and animals and the fish. And so when I read that, it almost gives me cold chills to think, we get to work in this, and this is the fundamental of God's creation. So good stuff, and I'm thankful for your all's partnership, and if you'll have me back, I'll come and talk about any topic you'd like.
Yeah, and you can come and bid on that ham this year if you'd like to. We'd love to have you do it.
So I'll try to convince Avery for maybe the first bid again this year.
Yeah. Thank you for being here with us.
Well, blessings to you guys.
Appreciate
and thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stay in touch with your office and keep working with you. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you all.